Hey fans, it's Erica Lindsay Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken, and we are going live today. So today's episode of Locked On Kraken is essentially like
Fans, it's Erica Lindsay Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken.
See, we're live. There it is. I scared myself. We're going live. Forgot to mute my computer. We are going live. So essentially, this is a pregame. It is definitely live, as you just saw. Anyway, we're going to talk about today's game. Mark Giordano finally gets his rivalry game. He talked to media today, of course, about that. We're going to go over yesterday's game against the Philadelphia Flyers and give you a few updates on what's happening in Seattle Kraken hockey. So all that coming up on this very live show of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
All right, fans, here I am again. I think I'm muted YouTube, so we shouldn't have any issues. That definitely scared the crap out of me. But as always, thank you for listening to Locked On Kraken. We appreciate you, usually making us your first listen of the day. Today, maybe we still are your first listen, but obviously we're coming in a little bit later than usual. Wanted to do a pregame. First of all, I'm on a back-to-back here too, So stayed up, watched the game last night. Shout out to Chanel Keenan. First of all, Chanel Keenan, first ever interview for Locked On Kraken, was featured in the hockey news today. I haven't read it yet, but saw the pictures. Congratulations, Chanel. But also, we had a great time texting during last night's game. I was calling for a Triple J line goal. The Seattle Kraken did score almost immediately after I put out that tweet. It was not the Triple J line. Unfortunately, the Philadelphia Flyers also scored almost immediately after I put out that tweet. I talked about it on yesterday's show. Didn't really know what to expect. Dave Haxtell kind of alluded to this. Felt that they had a pretty good game, all things considered. That being said, there were definitely some things that I also jokingly tweeted that are Kraken hockey that happen, and just got to clean those things up. So we're going to talk about that. Obviously, as I mentioned, we have the Geo Revenge game. But before we get into Calgary, one more shout out, and then we'll get into the Philly game. But shout out to Jess Belmosto, who is the Locked On Calgary, or I guess it's Locked On Flames, host right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It is actually her birthday. Happy birthday, Jess. But I am not gifting you a Calgary win, or at least I hope I'm not. And we're going to go over what the Seattle Kraken need to do to win this game against the Calgary Flames. But let's talk about what transpired yesterday. So we knew that Philip Grubauer getting the start. I actually thought that Philip Grubauer had a pretty good game. I thought he had a pretty good game. And we heard from Dave Haxtell that ultimately this was an overtime win for the Philadelphia Flyers, so an overtime loss for us. Couldn't pick up the 2 points. Did get a point overall, though. But there were not a lot of rushes that were dangerous. Dave Haxtell talked yesterday about, he talked after the game yesterday about just being able to, even when there were rushes, make sure that the Philadelphia Flyers were not getting into kind of that, danger zone area. They weren't getting in close on Philip Grubauer. So that looked good. I liked that style of defense. Also, the Philadelphia Flyers, they had about 11 shots through the first 2 periods. So it wasn't until the third and the overtime that the Flyers basically doubled up what they had for the first half or more of the game. They had 22 shots on goal overall to the Kraken's 36 shots on goal. However, what we see is that Philly, I mean, bang, bang, they got a goal in the first 5 minutes. They scored first, so that's something that still the Seattle Kraken have to work on. But then it was Yanni Gourde. Yanni Gourde, nice goal, liked it. Got the Seattle Kraken back on the board at the 12:46, almost 13 minutes. So tied up in the first. Not gonna lie, I'm not quite on East Coast time, but Central time, it's only an hour difference. I might have taken a little bit of a nap in the second period, so I had to look back on this one. But again, the Seattle Kraken liked what I saw from that Triple J line. We ultimately would see Lazan get a goal, but just really good productivity, just couldn't finish. And it was Jeremy Lazan actually got his first goal with the Seattle Kraken. That was the second goal for the Seattle Kraken. And we're feeling good, right? Like I said, I had just texted about the Triple J line. I was like, they're going to get things going. They were looking good. Of course, that's McCann centering Jaden Schwartz and Jordan Eberle. I've always liked that line. I've been talking about it since training camp and preseason. I thought that they were really menacing and getting things done. It was ultimately Lazan that scored. There was a goal that was called back that did involve Schwartz. Now, when it comes to the Triple J line, what I really wanted to tweet is that Jaden Schwartz has to get activated for the Seattle Kraken. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit in the next segment because that's something that I want to see for tonight's game, Calgary. Then what was heartbreaking is you get a goal. Lazan gets a goal and then they give up one. So, okay, let me just make sure I have the timestamps here. At 14:32, Lazan gets the second Seattle Kraken goal. At 14:47, Philadelphia gets their second goal. Tie game all over again. And then in overtime, poor Philip Grubauer. He just got undressed. He was absolutely undressed. An odd man rush, something that, again, Dave Haxtell had said his team did a decent job on, even when they did give up a rush, being good on essentially a back check and getting and disrupting the play. Not so in overtime. Grubauer, he bit on the first deke, and then it was lights out, game over with 2 minutes and 14 seconds into overtime. So OT didn't last very long. And that was kind of the name of the game. Philadelphia, they scored quick. They scored quick on us. If you weren't paying attention, you were missing the goals. Everything else, though, looked great. And that goes back, this was weeks ago where I talked about, some of the advanced statistics, and people were saying, yeah, actually, the Seattle Kraken, they do pretty well defensively as far as statistically speaking and analytics and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, that doesn't match the eye test. But basically what the stats were saying is that the Seattle Kraken are good on defense until they're not. I don't know what to say about that because, the end result is not great defense. And if we played the game in these increments, and there are 3 periods, but, unfortunately, the Seattle Kraken, and Dave Haxtell actually talks about this a lot, the Seattle Kraken or what Dave says is that he would like, it's important that his team does the right things at the right times. Unfortunately, the Seattle Kraken do the wrong things at the most inopportune moments. And that's what really bites them. That's what absolutely bites them. And so there's a discipline, there's cleaning up things, there is focus. Dave Haxtell talked a lot about getting productivity and making sure that every individual player is locked in. I've talked about defense so much on this podcast because it's like symptomatic of what I think it kind of burns my grits about the Seattle Kraken. Defense is all about anticipation. Defense is all about stopping things before they become a threat, before they become a problem. That's what good defenders do. That's what good defending teams do. The Seattle Kraken sometimes go through the motions. And so part of what we see when we get these goals in quick succession, I think, is because the Seattle Kraken just for a slight moment in time, they relax or they are focused on the wrong things. I talk about backdoor, or, if you want to call it far post, not protecting far post, not getting back, puck watching. These are the kinds of things that, again, if you do those things, if you're lackadaisical at those things at the wrong time, that's when other teams, especially in the National Hockey League, are going to take advantage. And that's exactly what we've seen from the Seattle Kraken. I feel like I keep saying this, but it's worth mentioning. So this is kind of like, I don't have kids, but I am an oldest child in a single parent home. So I know a few things about trying to discipline people. Also, just being a snot-nosed teenager myself. You know how people say that, especially at a certain age, you have to keep telling people things. You have to keep telling people things. You have to keep telling people things. Right now, the Seattle Kraken are like a teenager, Like, it's not that they don't know the right things to do, but the muscle memory and the cognitive skill and maturity to do what they're supposed to do without being told on a consistent basis is just not there. We're not dealing with a mature teenager right now in the Seattle Kraken franchise. And, I mean, as a team, right? As a team, they are playing like a teenager. Just those little mistakes, absent-minded thing. You don't put your seatbelt on, you cut class, you don't hand in your homework, whatever, things that you're supposed to do, but you just haven't developed the discipline and you haven't developed an internal kind of moral compass. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that's kind of what it feels like, right? That's what's happening here with the Seattle Kraken. The moral compass is just not there. Yes. Okay. Here I have hold on. Let me get rid of my name because hopefully you know who I am, Erica Lindsay Ayala, host of Locked On Kraken. But this is what I'm talking about. They take their foot off the gas. You can't do that. You cannot do that in the National Hockey League. It's that lack of discipline. It's like anyone who does any gardening or farming, they say you can't cheat the process. I mean, people say that in sports, but I think gardening and farming is a perfect example. You cannot cheat the process. You either, till the soil or you don't. You either plant the seed or you don't. You either water the earth or you don't. And if you don't eat. Period. That's what it is. That's the perfect example of you can't cheat the system. You cannot cheat. You cannot skip steps. You have to be thorough when you are gardening. You have to be thorough when you are farming. The Seattle Kraken have not developed that discipline. As someone who is not that disciplined herself, and I am far beyond my teenage years, I get it. It's not sexy always to be disciplined. But you know what is sexy? Winning games. Aha. So again, individually, I know these guys know this. They've got some great veteran leadership there. But you can't make people do what they're not committed to doing yet. And so that's where, we go to Dave Haxtell. As a coach, you have to kind of play some Jedi mind games here, and get your team to do the right things. And unfortunately, Kraken fans, and we should know this, I know the Golden Knights, everyone, talks about the Golden Knights and what they did. They they are definitely the outlier. This is to be expected from an expansion team. The culture is very much still being built, literally from the ground up. Talked to Everett Fitzhugh about that earlier in this week. If you missed that, check that out. Great conversation with Everett. That guy, the energy. someone who can match my energy. What's not to love? But that's kind of how I feel about that. Okay. So coming up next, we're going to talk about tonight's game. Again, it is going to be the revenge game. Mark Giordano, he's just like, I don't want to be disparaging or, I don't want to diminish, or I feel like I'm not using the right words. I kind of want to say he's just like the cutest guy. And I just mean like adorable, I just think he says some great stuff. He's just a likable, maybe that's a better way of putting it. I get the sense that he's just a likable guy. I enjoy, even when he's talking about, unfortunately, the Seattle Kraken not doing well, he just says it in a way where you're like, I know, Gio, but we're going to get there. And that's what I love about this guy. Anyway, he was asked, of course, about the cancellation, about not being able to go up to Calgary, about his family and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about that coming up next on Locked on Kraken. But right now, if you have a beard, you got to get Primal. That's right. If you have a beard, you have to get Primal. Of course, I'm talking about Primal Origin oils. Maybe you're someone that has never considered the benefits of treating your beard with product. Well, Primal Origin oil is definitely a place to start. They have free from harmful synthetic products that are handcrafted right here in the US of A, and they have combo kits that give you a little bit of this, a little bit of that, all the grooming stuff that you need. I don't have a beard, but I've seen it done before, and it looks pretty cool. I also can attest there are some gross beards out there. Don't be that person. Anyway, we know that every company says that they have the best, but Primal Origin Oil is willing to put their product to the test. And so they want you to test out Primal Origin Oils and compare it to what you're using right now. And they promise that you will see and feel the difference. So if you use promo code Locked On, you will get 20% off at primaloriginoils.com. Of course, that is promo code Locked On at checkout for 20% off at Primal Origin Oil. So yeah, go do that. And get yourself a nice, clean, good smelling beard. Other people will be very grateful. All right, as promised, we're going to talk about tonight's game. What I would love to see, just as a carryover, I would love to see the Seattle Kraken continue to get shots. They didn't manifest into goals, but I thought that the shot opportunities were definitely there. They were definitely there. And so that's something that the Seattle Kraken have to do a little bit more. We know that they're dealing with a very different lineup than what they're used to. And they're continuing to make tweaks. So Dave Haxel was asked about Cole Lind. Cole Lind did not skate on the ice. And he was asked if Lind would be available. And what Dave said, I thought was very interesting. And we're going to talk about roster a little bit later in the next segment, just to see if we get any tweets about it while I'm live. But essentially what he said is we're still dealing with, he didn't use the word injuries, but it sounded like he was alluding to injuries, like, guys banged up. They had a game yesterday. They have a game today. They also have Vancouver coming through. So there's a lot going on for the Seattle Kraken to close out 2021. Can you believe it? Tomorrow. That's it. That's all we got. And then it's on to 2022. So I'm going to keep an eye out for the lineups, for the rosters. And then also in the next segment, I'll tell you who I want to see and who I think the Seattle Kraken really need to see when it comes to productivity. Okay. What happened last time these two teams met? So the last time that we saw these two teams go head to head, it was in the preseason, actually. And so we didn't get to see, again, because this is Gio's revenge game, we didn't get to see Mark Giordano take on Calgary in the regular season. That game was postponed because of everything we have going on with COVID. I am not going to talk about that in depth today because I feel like I did a lot of that throughout the week. But one thing that I did like, and Gio was asked about this, is that Mark Giordano in the preseason, he actually scored the opening goal against Calgary for the Seattle Kraken. And yeah, we'd like to see some more of that. And Gio, remember I said he's likable, not adorable, not cute. He's a likable guy, fun guy. He kind of did this little laugh and he's like, and it was such a professional answer. He wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to score a goal just like the last time. What he said was something akin to, I'm working to be as productive as I can be. And if that means that I can, get up in the offense, then that's what I'm going to do. But he really made it about him striving to have as great a game as possible. And I thought that was a great answer. It's just great. Yeah, but here's the thing. We're going up against the Calgary Flames. And so they, in their last 10 games, are 5-4-1. We are 3-4-3. They have a power play that has them in 11th overall in the league at 22.2% efficiency, whereas we are at an 18% clip. Also with the penalty kill, 4th overall in the league at 85.7% efficiency, where we are at 20th with a 79.4% efficiency rating on the PK. Goals against. Yeah, they only lit up 2.21 goals, something that we've seen for the Seattle Kraken. 2 goals ain't going to cut it, obviously. We scored 2 goals yesterday and lost in overtime. And that is because we give up 3.55 goals per game for 29th overall in the league. Goaltending, we are going to see Chris Driedger in net. And I've been kind of Team Driedger lately. I think his energy is the energy that we need for a teenage team, right? He's moving around. He, for the most part, is able to control the rebounds and whatnot. There's just a different vibe. I'm trying hard not to totally trash Grubauer because, again, when you've got a teenage defense in front of you and you're not a teenager, that's kind of tough. I think that's maybe what it is, right? Gruby is sophisticated and he wants to play a sophisticated style of defense. Unfortunately, that's not the Seattle Kraken right now. They have potential to be. There are players that absolutely can sip on champagne and eat caviar with Grubauer, but he's got to be the Papa Bear. I've talked about it. I got in the camera and was like, Groovy, I need to see you give us some more. You got to be loud when you're around teenagers, right? You got to kind of command and tell them what to do. That's what I'd like to see Grubauer do. Now, do I think Chris Driedger does that? No, but his energy, he's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do the hockey. Let's play the thing. Let's do the thing. It's just, I don't know. The energy I'm a vibe person. I'm all about the vibes. That's the kind of vibe I get. I don't even know if that makes sense, but that's how I feel. And this is a Calgary team, in the division. So getting some points up is going to be great. It's not looking, in the Pacific Division, Calgary is 3rd overall behind Anaheim and the Golden Knights, whereas we are behind everybody. Dead last in the division. We've talked about this not being a great division. So sometimes teenagers, though, right? If you give them a challenge, if you present them with a challenge and you dare them to prove you wrong, sometimes they step up. And I think that's how the Seattle Kraken need to approach every game. Put that chip on your freaking shoulder. Nobody thinks you can. Don't be like, yeah, well, we're an expansion team and not everyone can be Vegas. No, F that. Be better than Vegas. Be better than Vegas. Come on. Vegas ain't crap. I mean, they're number 1 in the division, but that's not the point. Feed these teenage minds, these growing and developing minds when it comes to what Seattle Kraken hockey is going to be. Put a chip on their shoulder. I'm not for the hits and, the fighting, but it's kind of like that philosophy. Why do guys go at it? Because they felt that their teammates were disrespected. I get that. I'm a baseball person. We, throw at people's heads, although it's being enforced a little bit differently these days, but that's kind of the culture. And I get that. Totally get that. But you have to do that, but do it smartly. I definitely think Philly got under the Seattle Kraken skin a little bit yesterday. Bad. Oof. Some badly, again, wrong thing at the absolute wrong time. Some really bad penalties. Some really bad penalties at the wrong time last night. Also, though, just great goaltending for Philly. Great goaltending for Philly. I didn't mention that in the top session, but yeah, it was good. I thought it was good. I mean, the Seattle Kraken were getting shots. They had a better goalie. Anyway, so that's what we're working with. So what I would like to see, let's see where we're at. Okay. So let's talk about next some players that I really want to see get going. That kind of got to get going. And that'll do it for our live show because we got to get over to the game here. But before we go, I have to let you know about BetOnline, which is your number one spot for your props, your odds, and all your sports betting needs. It's the holidays. Why not find some ways to make some more money? And as you know, BetOnline is your number one spot for everything that you need. NHL, NBA, NFL, even your favorite Vegas casino games. And what we want you to do is go over to betonline.ag. And when you use promo code Locked On, you will get a 50% return or bonus, I should say, on your first deposit. That's right. You put $100 down, first deposit, you're going to get 50 of that back from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and even, like I said, your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't forget to take advantage of all the offers available in the 2021 season and beyond. And I say and beyond because, again, we're almost done with 2021. BetOnline is your fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Where the game starts for the Seattle Kraken is going to be critical. I always want to see the Seattle Kraken scoring the first goal. They almost never scored the first goal. So that's my first key. Score the first goal. Number two, part deux for me, I really want to see that Triple J line get going. Particularly, I would love to see Jaden Schwartz get going. He was involved, in the goal that got recalled. He got caught out there making contact with the goalie in the crease. Tisk, tisk, tisk. But Schwartzy, I want to see him get going. Talk about leadership. It has to happen. Yanni Gord got it done. Eberle's been getting it done. Schwartz, want to see him elevate his game. Jared McCann, that means has to have a good game too. I think that we're going to have to see the defenders step up and step into the game, get some of that offense. For me, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to score goals, although we're down for it, but they have to be shooting on net. Good things happen when you put the puck on the net. More tips in front. I know we've talked about it here, but don't have a lot of size, but you got to get in there. So I want to see the defense putting some more shots on. I really want to see the Seattle Kraken be crisp with their passing. I think they have to get more movement and move the defense out of the way and get the goalie moving laterally. That's always important. I mean, some of these things are just things that you tell everyone who ever plays hockey at any level, right? But we're talking with a teenager again. We have to reinforce what we want them to see. Really tightening up defense. I've talked about it before. The Seattle Kraken looks so good. It's a sexy style of hockey when they play team defense. They're better when they play team defense. We're not, the Edmonton Oilers a la Grant Fuhr and them. We don't have Grant Fuhr in net. who will stop any and everything, regardless of even if he's on the ice. Like, the man will swoop from the sky, or did. It felt like the man was swooping from the sky, with a hamburger in his mouth and just stopping pucks for the fun of it. We don't have that in net. Does anyone? I don't think so. So team defense is critical. Watching the entries, watching the exits. Oh my goodness, we're not going to do it tonight because we got to get to the game. The turnovers. Yuck. Oh, bleh. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I want it to stop. I don't know how many things that was. That was probably like 6 or so things, but they're all important. Getting the defense involved, playing a team defense, remembering that Grant Fuhr is not in net. Like, I don't know. There's just a Triple J line. Jaden Schwartz, want to see you get involved. So we'll see what happens. Calgary at Climate Pledge Arena tonight. Mark Giordano said he didn't talk to any of his former teammates. One, COVID, but also they didn't have a morning skate coming off a back-to-back. Hopes to catch up with those guys a little bit later. Hopefully, he'll have bragging rights. As always, I hope that you hold fast, stay true, and make sure you turn on the tube because it's a Seattle Kraken game day. Catch you tomorrow, folks. Peace.